In the last episode, we thwarted the Flying Nation's attempt to take our already claimed nations. In this episode, we're taking the fight to Masamune, and we are going to take their nation. Get ready, guys. Our training that we did in the past episode will surely secure us victory now. They're going down! Yeah, I didn't think your claims of my territories were so cute. That's why I'm coming to take you down. Wow, we're almost evenly matched. By 1 point, he's a little bit stronger. Okay, so the Flying Nations map, and yeah, I don't know if that's really what this place is called, but we'll find out when Pokemon Conquest comes out. This is Nobunaga's ambition, and it's Japanese. I can't read Japanese. I wish I could. I have practiced hiragana slightly, but that was 2 years ago, and then I got caught up in a lot of other things. So I don't really know Japanese. But what I do know is that this is a tricky map to duel on. Since your opponent has the advantage, as they most often do when you face their Busho warriors, you're going to want to be strategic. While they can fly, they can't fly over those canyons. They can't fly in the clouds. I mean, I'm sure in real Pokemon physics they could, but here they only have to be hovering above ground or water. Yeah, see, 5 out of 6 of their members can float around. Is that Golbat Nene's? I'm not sure. I guess not, because she would have appeared just like Hideyoshi did back when we faced them. He's like, hey, I switched sides. So you have to be very careful. There are some really strong flying types. Mainly that Wargle. Is it a Wargle still? I think it is. I hope it is. Jeez. I got so used to calling it Warubieru that I don't even know what the English name is. See, I'm a mess. I'm a mess when it comes to the 5th gen. This game and others that I'm playing right now are really helping me out because I barely know the 5th gen. You know, I imported Pokemon White back when it came out in Japanese, and I really learned a bunch of the names, the Japanese names, quickly. And then the American version came out, and I'm like, what is this, a Patrat? Oh, jeez. So, it's taken a little bit for me to switch gears with the ideas of what these guys are called. But there is a steep cliff that those guys are on right now. Really a sheer rock face is what I'm trying to say. And if you use Y in the directional pad, you'll be able to see much better when they come down to that level, like right now. There are a couple of spaces that are very well hidden at this point if you don't turn the screen around, and you may miss some vital attacking opportunities if you do that. Alright, rock guy. Oh, what was your name? Shit. I don't even know your name again. I'm sorry, dude. You know, we never actually faced in battle, so it's kind of hard for me to remember. You were just like, oh, you beat the psychic guy with the Gallade. I'm just gonna join along. Sure. Yeah, you know, I can't even say that it's really my thing for Japanese imports that's making me misremember names and mispronounce others. It's finals time right now, and I'm under the gun for lots of studying. Pokemon is a main fixation of mine, but when it comes to grades, that has to go first. And there's a lot to remember in biology. But never mind all that. I promised you last episode that I would tell you a story of what happens when you keep your kids indoors and all you give them as substance for entertainment is video games. And I'm going to tell that to you today. About 2 weeks ago, I would say, at this point, there was a kid in my science class who flipped the fuck out. We were doing some kind of stream assessment, and we had to take sludge from the bottom of the stream and count out all the different insects in there to check on the biodiversity. And then we looked at this thing called an Isaac Walton survey, and according to that, we figured out what the quality of the stream was. Now, quick thing before I continue on with the story, this is really what I want. You want to, and you do too, you want to separate up Masamune's team here. You don't want them all coming at you at once because it will be far too powerful. You don't want to separate your members across the map though, because they'll be plucked off easily because these guys can fly to any damn place they wish. You want to get them in the strategic zone here, where you can trap them on the bridge. There's very limited mobility here, and you have to be careful when using this tactic for your own team. Make sure that you have long-ranging moves like Kadabras and Ampharoses, and also a variety of close-up attacks to use when they're right next to your square on the bridge. Otherwise, you may be taken out quickly. Now, this is the biggest opponent, Masamune's Worubieru. I'm just going to go with the Japanese name. We are playing a Japanese game anyway. It's the most tough thing to take out. Of course, it's the Busho Warrior's main compadre. But seriously, you need to remove it. That thing will terrorize your team if you don't. So take half your team and focus them on this side. And here's what I'm talking about with seeing the extra spaces that the opponent can hide in if you don't change the perspective of the screen. Separate your team, divide and conquer, and you should be okay. Just make sure you don't divide too many times into where your team is fragmented and useless. So anyway, back to the story. So we were coming back in from picking up the sludge. We were getting ready to go sift through the sample and see how many bugs were in there to test the quality of the water. And on our way back, there was this Asian guy, and he's been in our class, of course, the whole time. And we've talked to him briefly before, and we've noticed that he is a troll. I'm not going to say his name because you don't want to feed the trolls. You really don't, because that just makes them come back 10 times stronger. But what happened was we were just talking with him, shooting the shit and making fun of him because he was in a really shitty mood that day. He came in and just was like, oh man, taking a dump on the table almost, you know, because he was having such a bad day. And I don't know why. You know, he's the kind of guy who always gets pissed off no matter what happens. You know, he is a stereotypical Asian guy, a stereotypical Asian gamer. He likes StarCraft. He rage quits if he doesn't do well. He even told me once that he got irked that his friends were making fun of him for playing on whatever level of difficulty he did. And because of that, he went to the harder difficulty and got even more enraged because he could never win. And he was not enjoying the game anymore. So you can start to see how this aberrant Asian guy is developed. It comes from never going outside, hardly interacting with others. And well, let me continue and you'll see why. So we go in and he is very fuming. He's breaking away from me and my friend, and he goes, and we have these buttons for handicapped people in our school all around so people can access the doors no matter what status they are in. They could just push the button and the doors open. He goes and slams the button, and he has the net in his hand, and we don't see him until we get to the front of the classroom, right before the teacher comes to open the door. And he flings the net. Now keep in mind, this net was in sludge that smelled like sewage, and oh, so you know, once we did sift through that sample, we found leeches in it, so very possible that leeches and other organisms could have been on that net, and he flung the net at my friend and said, "Don't fuck with me, you wouldn't like me when I'm psychotic." And that that snapped a fuse in my friend's head, and he grabbed the net and he said, "Stop it." You know, he didn't want to start a fight. You know, that was the good thing about my friend. He is not like the stereotypical Asian guy. He very much gets out, also gets laid. That helps too. And he has no confidence issues. So he doesn't need to prove himself like this stereotypical Asian guy did. You know, with going to harder difficulties even though he doesn't like it. Like, dude, if you're not enjoying a fucking game at a certain difficulty, then go to one where you do enjoy it. I'm just saying. Now, please, Ampharos, hit. You've been missing all this match. Please. Yes! The power! So, you know, I don't understand his mentality. But I do. I see where it comes from. I know that nobody is created in a vacuum. It's all about the upbringing. And this kid was never brought up in a world where he could get his ass beat. He just thinks about games all the time. He doesn't go outside. The only socializing he gets to do are on forums where he yells at everybody who yell at him. It's just a gigantic troll fest. And, you know, so there was a bit of a struggle, a bit of a strife there, as my friend was trying to ward off his net. It's like this kid thought, oh, I have the Master Sword in my hand, so if I point and say you wouldn't like me when I'm psychotic, as if I was some kind of Asian Hulk, then they'll definitely respect me. Yeah, bullshit. We know to stay the fuck away from you, that's all. So, you know, I ended up having to take a piss because I was laughing so hard. So, when I was out of the room, my friend tells me that this kid was not done raging yet. This kid had more to go. Although he dropped his Master Sword net and he was back in the class, he was still fuming. So he was instigating. He stood up and he was slamming his hands on the table and he was saying some bullshit like whatever about something about a dog barking loudest is an asshole. I don't know, because that was a very bad metaphor, or whatever he was saying. I wasn't there, so I don't know, but a very bad metaphor considering the way he was acting, all vociferous and idiotic. So, this is a perfect example, a prime time example of what I was talking about in the last episode, what occurs when kids don't get to go outside. They lose their fucking marbles when they become adults. They don't know how to handle life. They've never been involved in outdoor situations or real situations with actual people in which they had to cooperate to get something done. They don't know about keeping a cool head even if you are frustrated at something. The only reason we were actually berating him in the first place by the stream was because he was being a dickhole. He was being such a fucking energy vampire. He was sucking the life out of the entire class as soon as he sat down, just by being just an asshole. He's like, oh, I should calm down. Oh yeah, maybe I'll go smoke some pot. Completely psychotic. It doesn't even make sense. And I think that's because I mentioned a couple of times to him, if you're outraged so much, you might want to consider smoking a doobie. Just saying, it would really take a bit off your attitude there. It would help you with your trolling tendencies. But he didn't want to hear it, He's got one of those typical false mindsets of non-research where he doesn't want to question anything. He just wants to argue and argue and argue, much like a troll does. Had I known he was as much of a troll as he is, I would have never talked to him. I wouldn't have. Because that's the worst thing you can do to a troll, is provoke them. And give them a reason to talk to you. Fuck that kid. Never speaking with him again. He is a cunt. A cunt. And a troll. So, please, anybody who is thinking about having kids, or has been a kid, which is everybody, relay this information. Let people know that if you don't let your kids outside, all that tension is going to be bottled up. There is a lot of energy inside children, and it needs to be expended outside. Just playing video games is not enough to get by in life. I have gained so many insights and learned so many valuable lessons by playing games that I integrate within my life. But it's important to note that's not the only thing I do. I surf. I've worked on horse farms all my life. I ride my bike all the time. I love to hike. I'm a vegetarian. There are other things that I do daily to make sure my bodily functions stay in check and my chimpanzean genome doesn't come up and raise its ugly head. Kind of funny that I said chimpanzean, but we do. We share roughly 80 to 90% of our genome with chimpanzees, and I say it's ironic because now we have Hidorama! And that is awesome. So, valuable lessons here on today's Pokemon+Nobunaga's Ambition. I'm DeoGenZ, and I will see you all next time. Oh, by the way, have you had a troll occurrence like I have? Let me know in the comments below. I would love to laugh. See you guys next time.